Good morning, everybody. Adam Traub here from Traub Supply. It's been a while since we made a video, so we're going to do a new one from start to finish. So I usually begin by filling up my pot. So I'll show you all how much water we put in. And really, you need enough water so you can dip the duck through the liquid and it will totally go through the wax. So that's really what you're thinking about. Probably a quarter to halfway up is what we're gonna do here. We're just working on some teal this morning, so they're not real big ducks. That's probably enough. And then I'll show you real quickly how we break up our wax. Take a hammer. Throw it in there. One slab of wax will probably clean about 60 teal. We have, our limit this morning, so we don't really need a whole lot. So we'll put that on the burner and get that going. We're filling up our cooling trough. We'll fill it up about halfway. This is where we'll throw the ducks after they've been waxed to get that wax real hard on there. So do that, let that go. We'll come over here real quick. We'll start prepping the ducks. We can do all this while the wax is melting. Real quick, I'll show you how we prep them. We prep the wings real close to the body. Cut the feet off right there at that joint. All right, and then real quickly, take off the butt feathers. We'll pluck a line down the belly and the back. That'll just make it easier for us to get a starting point. And so we'll get all the ducks prepped and we'll get to waxing. So we've been boiling a little while. As you can see, we let it get to a rolling boil. The wax is just about melted. We probably have about a 3-inch layer of wax on there, and that's what you want. I'm gonna let that finish off. I'll show you really quickly how I like to glove. So I double glove because when you keep on sticking that glove in the wax, it does get hot. So I'll stick a real thin glove on my hand, and then we use one of these thick rubber gloves that has some insulation inside. People often ask us, how hot does the wax have to be? If you turn it off, as soon as you turn it off, you start waxing, the wax is gonna go on a lot thinner, which is not a big deal, but we'll double dip them, so it sort of takes care of that. If you let it sit for 5 or 10 minutes after it's melted, it will go on thicker. So if that's a concern, just wait a little while. But there's really no sweet spot with the temperature. People always ask us that. So you can see right now in the pot, it's almost all done. I can probably turn it off right now. The remaining heat's gonna melt that. So we'll do that and we'll get to waxing. And so we're gonna immediately start going in. So this wax is right around 212 degrees, give or take a little bit. So we dunk that duck in there really well. Use your fingers and really push that wax into little crevices where it can't get on its own. And sort of dip them again. And then we just squeeze it off. Getting your fingers under the legs, pulling all that excess wax off. You don't need all that on there. And then just throw it in the cooling trough and go on to the next one. And that's the process. It's not real complicated. Make sure the ducks are dry. They can't be wet when you dip them in the wax. The wax will form a shell, but it won't adhere to the feathers. That's one of the most important tips I can give you. Make sure they're dry, and these teal are definitely dry. If you find that it's taking a little while for the ducks to harden up in the waters because the water's getting hot. Right now it's teal season, it's almost 90 degrees out here. So we probably won't, but you can throw ice in there if you want to speed it up. And I can feel the heat through this glove, but it's not bad. Double glove. And if you just single glove it, you're gonna feel it, and you'll have to dip your glove in the water to pull it off. It's whatever you want to do. All right, so the teal have been sitting here for 5 minutes or so, maybe closer to 10 actually. And you want to feel them, make sure they're good and hard, they're not real warm. If they're warm, it's not going to peel like it should. So we'll start off with this little teal right here. And you can see how you sort of want to hold down the skin right there. It can rip sometimes, so I'll hold down with this finger and I'll pull with this one. You can see most of the feathers are coming up. And do the same thing on this side. I'll hold down again and start peeling. And especially, I keep saying teal because that's what we have today, obviously. They can be pretty tender, so just don't go crazy on it and start ripping because you can rip the skin off. But this is a good example of why waxing is the best way to get it, because that took me all of, 20 seconds or so to get 99% of the feathers off. Now you'll go back through and there may be a couple here and there. And we'll start on the other ones. And we are going to season up these little teal before we put them in the freezer, so when they get ready to cook, they'll all be done. We're using our Traub Supply super sauce. It's full of cayenne and garlic and onion and bell pepper, celery, all kind of stuff. Salt. It's not really hot, but it's full of flavor. And so what we'll do, we'll smear all this on there, and we'll probably season them up with a little bit of dry rub, probably some Tony's, before we either throw them in a pit or usually we'll make a gravy out of them. That's our favorite way to cook them. But you can see that wax, it really makes them pretty. We had one that was pretty covered in pin feathers, and the wax did a pretty good job. Like I tell everybody, it'll get most of the feathers most of the time, but not all of them all the time. You can see there's a few little pin feathers stuck up in there, but nothing I'm gonna complain about. So thanks for watching, and hopefully we taught y'all something.